Hello, my name is Gary Wygant, Managing Director at ALCAN Burntisland. This video was prepared for the employees at Burntisland, by employees at Burntisland. Late last year, Ian McCracken, Jim Teep, Danny Burns, and a few others came to me with the idea to prepare a video about the people for the people. We hope you enjoy it.
The plant at Burntisland, or the BAM as it is known locally, began producing alumina back in 1917. Burntisland was a superior location for the plant, with excellent port facilities for unloading the raw bauxite. Fife was also rich in coal, essential to power the Burntisland plant. There were also established rail links to smelters in the Highlands, where the alumina Burntisland produced would be delivered. The plant came to life in 1917 under the British Aluminium Company. The process at Burntisland involved the extraction of alumina from raw bauxite. For every 5 tons of bauxite, only 2 tons of white alumina powder was produced. The remaining 3 tons was a waste red mud that had to be disposed of locally. By the 1980s, capacity had grown from 5,000 to over 100,000 tons at a plant which remained as dark and foreboding as the day it opened.
It's a difficult environment to work in, but again, it's back to the people. We work, I know on Group 1 as a team, we work together, we help each other. If there's a problem in one area, you get people from other areas come to give you a hand.
Even after 2 or 3 years when I was in it, and you're walking up the red side and something kind of wet hits you in the head, and it is only rainwater, you can't take that chance. So you're diving to the first shower you get because it could be the liquor.
I think when I first went in 1966, it was the roughest places I've seen. When you first went in, your first job was what they called the presses or bogies, which was getting rid of the mud manually.
I remember the first time I saw it, I thought, my God, it's like someone at Charles Dickens. That's silly.
It was cold there, because there's no heating and no fire. The boiler house, I enjoyed working in the boiler house there. But of course, before the foreman came down the road, we've all had to get heat against the back of the boiler, things like that. Although there was no official tea break at that time, everyone stopped to make tea. We had long pieces of copper twisted round an old tin can, and that was shoved in the furnaces at the boilers to make the tea, and everybody congregated round having tea. I think the foreman knew that went on, and he didn't appear till after it was all finished.
The beginning of World War II disrupted not only the supply of bauxite from France, but also the balance of the workforce at Burntisland.
I was called up and sent here in 1942. Yes, and worked for 3 years till the men returned from the war. We did the men's work. We worked the 3 shifts, day shift, back shift and night shift. And men's work, we had to do it, there was no one else. And this was termed ammunition factory, you see.
Each shift had a gun team. We had an anti-aircraft gun down about the bauxite tip, somewhere down the bottom there. Now, prior to me being employed by British Aluminium, I can remember as a wee boy seeing this German bomber come up the Forth, and boy, they must have enjoyed popping away at it. They never hit the German bomber yet, but every gun in the place was going in, that gun too. So the people, the shift team that was on that shift, they must have enjoyed firing that gun, because they never got to fire the gun. They would only go through the motions in practice, but they got to fire it that day.
During the war, they'd kept on men, and there was one particular chap I remember very well, aged 82, who was still hale and hearty and doing what was necessary.
The site grew steadily through the post-war years and the BAM became somewhat of a big family.
When I started, it was very difficult to get a job there. We had to know him, we knew somebody else, you know, and that was about the size of it. And of course myself, who was an incomer to Burntisland, because I belonged to Felman, which is 12 miles further up the road, was unheard of. You had to be more or less related to someone that was in the plant. But unknown to them, I was related to somebody who was in the plant, but they didn't know it because we didn't let it be known, you know. But everybody knew everybody.
Started as an apprentice, became fitter, eventually a foreman, and then I'm now asset controller, running the Maximo system in the factory and do project planning as well. So we have been involved all the time, because also my grandfather was 35 years in the plant. So it's going way back, and his sister actually was in here in 1917 when they started the factory, so I think you could say we've been here for the 85 years, one way or another. Yeah.
Brothers, sisters, uncles, you know. Grandfathers had grown up in the place, you know. So you had to be very careful who you spoke to, because, you know, you may have a manager somewhere, you know, in the next department. But it was, you know, it was a good place to work. I found it was one of the best places that I'd worked for, in terms of, you know, feeling comfortable with people and the cooperation that existed.
As production grew, so did the waste. Getting rid of the red slurry was always going to be a problem.
Before my time, this red mud had been put out into what are known as the Red Sea. That's to say, an inlet which is now covered over by earth and so on, but it was built up with this red mud.
And if your feet got all red and you went in, you got but you never dreamed you'd ever be working there or that. Till I was 7-year-old, 8-year-old, watching the steam engines going up with the bauxite to be tipped. And then that was up at the grannies, which stayed there at the castle there for the Red Pond, as it was called then. And I used to go with my dad walking for New Biggin signal box, which was just outside the gates on the railway, Aberdeen, on a Sunday morning. Walked the track and came back, and if we're bringing the bauxite up the docks at Burntisland, we used to get a lift down on the steam engine to Burntisland. That went on for till about 52 when we moved up the castle.
The harsh working environment at Burntisland was matched by the robust nature of the men and women who worked there. People saw many changes in the way they worked. There was an increased awareness of health and safety, and also changes in working practices.
Well, when I first started here and I first got involved in dispatch and transportation and warehousing, we used to manually lift and carry 50-kilo bags and place them inside road containers. Now this is in the 70s we did that.
When I first started, the induction to the plant was nowhere near as comprehensive as we have now. I was brought on site, there was 2 of us started at the same time. I was met at the time office, I was escorted to the stores, issued with overalls, hard hat, safety boots, no safety glasses, didn't have them in those days. I was taken into M block, which is where the kilns are. I was shown to what we call the redlers, basically a system for withdrawing dust from the kiln. I was shown how to fill a paper sack with dust using a slide valve. Open it, fill the bag, close it, take the bag off, tie it, put it on a pallet, do the same again. That's your job for 8 hours, goodbye. So I left in wonderment that the block had big rotary kilns turning. It was hot, so it was very noisy. There was a fair amount of dust there. That was the first job, which lasted for about a month.
You know, for the effort we put in, I think, in the early days, there were a lot of don't know if in the modern age there's so much, what could I say, effort.
Feeling
Feeling.
towards your job.
Yeah. In the earlier days, I've seen people working so hard that they worked to a standstill, had to sit down for a rest to keep the place going.
I've never seen that.
That was engineers, of course. You wouldn't see that.
Probably the process.
But I'm talking. But I have seen people doing that where they work really to a standstill, but an effort to keep the place going and things that they tried to do to keep it going. But then eventually, as safety came into the work, then you don't do these things, and so that was a big change, For the better, I may add.
Burntisland went on to win 3 firsts in the ALCAN safety competition. There was a bond in the workforce and an air of mutual respect and camaraderie.
I was new to the company, but people had been there 30 years, 35 years, with wealth of information experience. And what I would consider to be a very difficult task, these people would get to grips with it and sort it out. And I mean, I relied a lot on these people just guide me through it, because it took me, in fact, I still didn't quite fully understand at the end of the day. They're the guys who made the plant operate.
When we first moved to Scotland, I was only going to work part-time. I got off the coach in Kirkcaldy, me and my 2 daughters, because John had come a fortnight before me, to be told that I had an interview at 9 o'clock on the Monday morning with Dick Headley, right? And I think I had a week. We lived in a caravan when we first come up, and I had a week off, and then I worked then full-time for 23 years. And there was only 3 of us in the office to start with, and we had a really, really wonderful relationship in that office. We all looked out for one another. We all backed up one another. If one was busy at the beginning of the week, they helped out. And then we were in a porter cabin at the time. And we were in that porter cabin for 10, 11 years. Just a temporary thing. They did put proper foundations in the end. And then we moved up to where personnel is now, customer services, and that's when it grew.
The old stock job was everything done by hand. You had a production stock report that had to come out every week, stating what every part of the plant made, sold, which was very time consuming. But we used to have some good laughs getting it out on time, especially at New Year. If we wouldn't get away until the report was out, so Kay was over there, everybody pitched in.
The 1970s saw increased competition in the marketplace, and Burntisland had to respond to meet this challenge in 2 ways. The first was through its commitment to research and development. ALCAN would now produce a new range of specialist products.
When I first started, they were just starting out on the specials business. They'd just gone away from the aluminium business to start on the specials business, and the installation of the new mills and the micronizers. That was all new in my time. At that time, the kilns were nearly shut down completely. They were hardly used at all. And then suddenly the kilns came back again when the specials took off.
Burntisland stopped shipping material to the smelters in the Highlands. Instead, the plant began producing a range of tailor-made specialty chemicals for use in spark plugs, toothpaste and ceramics. In the early 80s, progressive investment of up to £35 million went to produce super-fine fire retardant powder for use in paper coatings and electrical cables.
I say the major change we had was introduction of superfine, and that was way back in 1984, and it was completely different to anything else we'd done. Again, as I said, being involved in actually packaging and dispatch and warehousing. Superfine, it's very bulky and unstable product, It was that time we started to introduce racking into the warehouses.
In fact, the last big expansion, we designed the plant with it was a different technology for producing the superfine. We went for the biggest equipment that was on the market. It was the sort of the front of technology available, and we sold this to all the directors within the company, and we got this £25 million expansion approved, which was successful. Automatic bagging and palletizing systems, increased productivity because of the extra, the bigger machines that we were operating, and it was really the state-of-the-art equipment. So, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, for some reason or other, it's not worked. Yeah.
The second part of the challenge was the introduction of a new way of managing the actual day-to-day running of the plant.
In the business improvement roles, we had a forum which involved contributions from everyone in the plant, and that was quite a rewarding area to work in when we worked as a team involving everyone in the management levels and actually people on the shop floor and the contributions that they made, and that was a highlight of my time here as well.
The major change for me in here was actually going to the teams and team leaders and stuff. When I was made a team leader, it was then giving you the opportunity to then voice the things that you had been saying for years, but were never listened to. And then it was a case of know your place. But now they were encouraging you to come forward with ideas and stuff, and you were able to, you and your teams were able to sort of blossom.
Before 2000, we actually had fixed jobs. A guy had a fixed purpose. He came in every day knowing exactly what he was going to do. Now we have people that are trained in a variety of processes within a team, and we try to interchange that. Sometimes it's difficult, but we still have to do that. Like even before 2000, we had oil and greasers. We did nothing to do with the machinery for oil and greasing or anything. There was no responsibility at all for your plant other than that it operated, and you operated it properly. Now you have to take responsibility, ownership of the plant as well. And that created a lot of resistance for things to be done. Personally, I think it was maybe too much at times with the problems.
I think that the people who were contributing to these improvements felt that their ideas and their contribution was valued and was also very beneficial to improving the state of the business.
The past few years have been exciting, difficult, challenging. We've had a lot of changes in the past 2.5 to 3 years. Big changes into this teamwork. We used to have what we call fixed jobs in the past. Now we have teams. So it's been a real challenge, difficult at times, heartbreaking at times of the work, but challenging, and fulfilment comes into it as well. Lots of good sides.
In December 2002, the BAM was shut down, and the constant drone from the big plant was silenced forever. But the people will leave with memories of co-workers and of a workplace that was both interesting and unique.
Well, they go back to 1987. My first visit, I met Dougal McNeil, and what I remember from that visit distinctly was a very proper tea that we had in the visitors' dining room with maybe the tastiest scones ever.
Well, I mean, for me, it's quite easy, very simple. I've worked 27 years here just about, and I would say that 90% of that has been on the white side in the dispatch area. So, I mean, I have loved that. Every part of it, right? If you've just been on the shop floor, driving the forklifts, not up to what I do now. Because the challenge that you get, I mean, ALCAN do set you challenges, believe you me, and the further up you go, it does get harder all the time, like that. No, I really have loved the challenge that ALCAN's given me, and accepted that challenge like that. Been working beside most of the boys and everything on dispatch now. I mean, they are such a good team. They really are. They get on with their work, the work's done, and that doesn't stop the fun taking place.
I've met a lot of people. I've had a lot of experiences. The majority of them have been excellent and been great. You know, you build up relationships with guys, and there's a lot of people in here I don't know their second names. You know, I know them by their first name, and that's it. But I've known them for a long time. It's been good. I'll miss it. I will. I'll definitely miss it.
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, I've worked with and for and have had working for me just some really tremendous people. I'll remember a lot of personalities. Some of them are just tremendous characters. People like Danny Burns, who would always greet me every morning and let me know that we've been safe for another day. And people like Tom Dugan, who in his own inimitable way can characterize financial performance and make it exciting. People like Jim Teep and Rod Tapp and the whole crew that ran this place for so very long and then participated in the orderly closure of it.
I was raised in Burntisland, so the aluminium works has always had, I've always been aware of it. I remember as a kid, I used to stay at the end of Broomhill Avenue, which is more or less straight in line with the plant, and you could hear, most often on a still summer's night for example, just the background noise of the plant coming and going with the breeze and with the wind. I guess I'll always remember that, this sort of background noise of the plant which you become familiar with and just used to.